welcome to another video. So in today's video I'm just going to be going around my plants and doing a bit of a walkthrough, just seeing what's doing okay and making a note of anything that isn't doing okay and might need some attention. So let's get into it. So first up I have this umbrella plant propagation, and I've literally just potted this up a couple of days ago. This was the one that had root rot, unfortunately, and yeah, this was the cutting that survived and rooted quite nicely. So yeah, I've got this one potted up. It is growing new growth as well. I think it looks kind of cute in this pot. But yeah, this is one of the umbrella plants I really wanted to keep because it has this kind of really nice gentle yellow variegation that I like. So I'm going to hopefully put this one in a place where it can get good light, and yeah, providing it survives the winter, it should start growing nicely in spring, and I should eventually hopefully have a nice plant. So next is this spider plant, and just at the back here is where I pinned a load of baby spider plants to the soil, and I have actually cut them off now from the mother plant because they've all rooted in really nicely. If you give them a little tug, you can feel that the roots have rooted in. So yeah, those all propagated successfully and are now growing there. So yeah, that's a really good way of propagating spider plants. Just pin the babies to the soil and they will root quite nicely. Yeah, and then you just cut the kind of umbilical cord off, and yeah, you have a full spider plant. And then over here, this is my philodendron ring of fire, and it has actually been trying to put this leaf out for a while now. I will say it's definitely slowed down because that leaf has been trying to come through for quite some time, I'd say. And I'm thinking this one could do with a bit more light as well, because the variegation in it is not what it could be. I've seen these with more variegation. At the moment, the kind of winter sun is really affecting a lot of my plants. And then this is my philodendron silver sword here, and this one did come through. It had thrips in the growing season this year, and the thrips are gone, but it's kind of taken a little bit of time to recover. The new growth was a little bit funky for a while, as it is when you have thrips, and certainly I think it could probably do with a bit more light because the new growth that's coming out is smaller than the old growth, but it's doing okay. I think if I just continue to care for it, and it will eventually catch up. I need to just try and give it a bit more light. I did move it closer to the window recently, but I think because of winter and because my window is currently covered with a for sale sign, there isn't probably enough light here. Light is a problem at the moment with all the plants that I have. I don't really have enough light to go around them all, so definitely going to be investing in some grow lights at some point. And this one is my Ficus Belize Ruby, and kind of similar to the silver sword in that it's been working on this leaf here for quite some time. I don't really expect it to grow much more during these colder months, but you know, it's having a go and it's quite healthy. It hasn't been losing any leaves or anything like that. So, you know, I'm happy for it to have a bit of a dormant phase. That's fine by me. And then this is my fairly new Maranta here. I did actually repot this one very recently, just because it was in a very dense soil and I just really needed to give it more of a chunky mix with some perlite and some orchid bark in it, and it seems happy there. So yeah, I think it will definitely be better off for having a better potting mix there, but it seems to be doing okay. No pests or anything like that so far on this one. And then this is my Aglaonema. Which one is this? This is the Silver Queen, I think. But anyway, it's growing really, really well. In fact, it's one of the few plants that is really going crazy, putting out lots of new leaves, even in winter. And yeah, it seems to be really bushing out. It's been growing fairly consistently, really, and yeah, luckily it's stopped putting out the flowers now. I chopped those off, and so it's just focusing on the leaves. But yeah, I just absolutely adore this plant. It grows so well, and it seems very pest resistant too. Haven't had any pests on this one, touch wood. And then over here I have my hanging Marble Queen pothos, and yeah, I'm a little bit worried this one might be reverting in some places, and I've been trying to kind of get it nearer to the window. I don't know whether it's just some vines I think are a little bit more reverted. The one back here is a bit more white, so it could just be the genetics of the plant. But yeah, I really don't want it to revert, but I'm kind of, as I said before, struggling a little bit with the light at the moment. And then over here I have my string of hearts, and you can see from the kind of the brighter green coloured ones, these are all the new ones. And honestly, this one is just growing really well. It's still putting out loads of new growth even now in autumn. And yeah, look how long it's getting. It's really luscious and healthy, and it hasn't really stopped growing, to be honest. I'm finding it to be a really satisfying plant to grow. And then over here is my fernwood snake plant, and again this is just another really easy plant to care for. You can see the smaller kind of leaves that are coming out. Those are all the newest ones, and it did put out loads and loads of new ones during the growing season. I think it's slowed down on the new ones a bit now, but it's the ones that are already there are still growing, so that's good. And then here we have my bird of paradise. Now this one's doing okay. Unfortunately, it's looking a little bit sparse leaf-wise because I did accidentally knock a load of leaves off, so it lost quite a lot of leaves over the growing season. So yeah, just waiting for spring to come around so it can recover now. And this is my new Philodendron Brazil. It's doing really well. I'd really like to repot this one and give it some better potting mix, but I thought, why disturb it right now? I'll leave it for a little bit and try and do it at the beginning of spring, hopefully. But it seems to be doing okay, and yeah, it's still putting out growth. It's a really nice specimen of Philodendron Brazil, this one. Really nice full plant, and I'm definitely going to leave it as a hanging plant. I've decided it just looks kind of really nice on this shelf, and I've put it in this gold pot as well. And then over here I have my Monstera adansonii, and I did actually put an extension on this one, an extra pole extension, and I did try putting another one on top of here. You'll notice that it's in need of another one, but the trouble I had was when I put the other one on, it became very unsteady, so I ended up taking it off, and I've just kind of left it like this. It looks a bit silly, I guess, but I'm not really sure what else to do because it gets very top heavy and threatens to kind of fall over if I put another extension on. So at the moment I'm just kind of leaving it be, and maybe I'll just have to let it go a bit wild for now, I don't know. But it has a little bit more of an extension there, so I think it's definitely appreciating that. It's very hungry as well, this one. It needs feeding a lot even now in the colder months. And then over here is my Philodendron Beatiae, and yeah, this one is just kind of my favourite at the moment, I think. And look at this, it's putting out a new leaf too. and I honestly wasn't expecting a new one to come out just yet, but yep, it's putting out a new one, and that honestly makes me so happy to see that it's thriving. I haven't done anything to it. Basically, I've just cleaned the leaves and watered it as needed. I haven't repotted or anything. I've just literally just left it here to do its thing. Same thing with this Syngonium albo. Another apple of my eye at the moment, and you can see this one's getting really bushy. It's a real relief actually, because usually if there's something wrong when you first get a plant. The leaves start going yellow, but this one definitely is healthy because it just is putting out so many new leaves, and really interesting variegation on this one too. If you look, you can see they're all different. This one's kind of got a watercolor effect on it, but it really does vary as to what kind of variegation you get. You can see there, look, still new leaves coming in. It seems to be doing really well, and I feel like I finally got my Syngonium albo. Just look at that variegation. And then over here is my philodendron painted lady, and this one's definitely losing a few leaves, which I'm not too worried about because this one here is browning off. It did have quite a big hole in it when it arrived, so I don't think there's a pest problem or anything from my examination. I think it's just going to lose this leaf, and so it is losing a few leaves. I mean, this one is more of a less established plant. It's more of a baby, but it does still have some healthy leaves too, and I think there's a good chance that it will survive winter and start to put out new leaves. Maybe it will be a little slower than some of the others because it is a baby plant, and baby plants, they can take a little bit longer to kind of adjust and stuff. So yeah, I'm just leaving it be really, and hoping that it will, when it's ready, start to grow some new leaves. And yeah, I'll be able to look back one day and think, wow, look where this one started. And then over here is my whale fin snake plant, and this one is kind of growing a bit weird at the moment. It has 3 leaves kind of in an arrangement. In my experience, this one doesn't tend to grow much in the colder months. It only really grows maybe 1 or 2 leaves in the warmer months. And then over here, this is my Prince of Orange, and this one is actually still growing. It's got a new leaf kind of coming out there, and this is the newest one, this kind of wrinkled looking one. It's definitely slowed down, but this is one of those plants that just seems to do well. It always makes it through the winter, and yeah, I don't really worry about it, to be honest. Most of my philodendrons are pretty easy. And then here, this is my peperomia that I bought from a supermarket, and I did actually have to chop a few leaves, but you can see all these new ones coming in. It's definitely inspired it to grow, having a few leaves chopped off. It did have a few kind of gnarly leaves, and so I gave it a bit of a prune, and it seems to be putting out some lovely new ones. So yeah, maybe my peperomia skills are now improving enough to keep peperomias alive, so that's good news. So maybe in future I will think about adding some more peperomias to my collection now that I've had a little bit of a confidence boost with them. So yeah, that's good. And then over here are just some smaller plants that I've got. Got this little Syngonium tricolour that hasn't really done an awful lot lately, and a Syngonium albo there. Again, it seems okay, but it's not doing a great deal. Yeah, and then just some little things here. A little Tradescantia there at the back. I did repot that recently to give it some better soil because it was in awful soil. And then over here, this is my Philodendron Brantianum, and I think it's quite liking having a bit of something to climb up. Seems to be doing better. It's putting out new leaves, so yeah, we'll see what happens with this one. I'm hopeful. And I do really like the colour of the leaves, the silver on them. And then this is my money plant, and yeah, this one's really cool. It's just really trouble free, and the leaves have definitely got bigger as it's gone along. And yeah, it's still growing, even though it's growing a little bit less than it was. It's slowed down a bit, but it does still keep putting out leaves. They just take a little bit longer to come out, but this one really is a joy to look after. And then here is my rickrack cactus, and this one's putting out loads of new leaves. I can see so many coming out. And this one had one spider mite on it once, and yeah, I didn't ever see one again after that, after I'd treated it. I'm assuming there were probably more than one on it, but yeah, it didn't really seem to be affected at all by this lone spider mite. And then over here is just my snake plant, which never causes any trouble. My Dieffenbachia here is starting to take on more of a bare stemmed look as it grows. Dieffenbachias tend to lose their lower leaves and they get a bit more stalky, so that I think that's what's happening to mine there, which is perfectly normal. And then this little baby rubber plant here, not doing an awful lot right now. And then over here, this is a Tradescantia propagation that's growing really well. One of the easiest plants to propagate. And this is the mother plant. You can see that the vines are growing nice and long here. They seem to have kind of reached a certain point and then started growing upwards. So yeah, that's interesting. Then this is my alocasia dragon scale, looking a bit sad. It could be the lack of light. I have put it near to the window, but as I've mentioned before, I'm battling low light at the moment, with it being the colder months, and the for sale sign over the window is blocking out kind of half the light. So that may be why this one's suffering a bit. It still is putting out new leaves. You can see there's a new one here, but yeah, it's not doing too well. But I do feel fairly confident that if I prune this one back, it will come in nice and strong again in spring, because it does tend to grow fairly quickly when the warmer months are in. So I'm not too worried. I think it will recover, whatever happens. But yeah, it is one of my favourite plants. But, you know, sometimes these things happen in winter. It did also have spider mites as well. And then another marble queen pothos here. This is the one that I have growing up a pole. I'm kind of in two minds as to whether to give it a pole extension or take it off the pole. I'm not sure. This one does keep getting spider mites. Looks like it has spider mites again. It's quite a difficult one to control them on because it's quite a bushy plant. So yeah, it just needs to be taken away from my other plants again. But that's okay. It's as you can see, it's quite a dense plant, so trying to keep the spider mites under control on this one is quite difficult, but I think I'm doing pretty well. I mean, the damage they're doing is fairly low because I'm keeping their population down, so I think it's okay. It's just a bit annoying because it means I have to keep kind of moving it away from where I'd like to put it, near the windows. But yeah, let's just move it away from my other plants again, and I shall give it a spray down. This is my neon pothos, and I think maybe this one's looking a little darker than it usually would be, possibly because of the light again. It's still a nice plant though. Yeah, I think it's just maybe getting a bit darker with the lack of light at the moment. Bring on spring and hopefully that will brighten it up again. But you know, it's a really resilient plant, this one. You know, most pothos plants are, so I'm not too worried about it. This is my bare-stemmed Rubber plant, my Ficus tenaci, you can see that it's lost most of its lower leaves, and I'm definitely going to be propagating this one. My plan is come spring I shall be basically chopping all three of these around in this place, sort of halfway down, and yeah, that's the plan for this one, and I think that should work quite well actually. And then another really easy plant that just is a dream to have is this moonshine snake plant. This one is literally one of my easiest plants, and you can see the new growth that's coming out, the lighter coloured growth. I really love how the lighter colour comes through more when the growth is new. It's such a beautiful plant. And then this is I'm going to call it Philodendron Hope. I do know that it's been reclassified, but it's just easier to say Philodendron Hope. But this one's having a little bit of trouble. You can see there's some dark patches on this leaf here, and I've had several leaves go like this, and I've ended up having to cut them off. So I'm not really sure what it is. I've moved it closer to a window, and that seems to have kind of stopped it in its tracks a little bit. So maybe it was the lack of light, possibly. Hopefully that will solve the issue. I didn't really want to repot it yet, so I'm hoping it's not something to do with the roots or anything like that. But I'm going to see how it goes now that it's been moved closer to the window. Hopefully the leaves will stop turning brown like that. And yeah, it would be a real shame if this plant passed away, because it's a really nice plant. So I'm really hoping it was a light issue. I have also sprayed it for possible pests. But yeah, just watch this space with this one really. Hopefully the problem stops and the plant continues to do better. And then this is my umbrella plant, and this is my oldest umbrella plant that usually doesn't actually grow that much in the colder months, but at the moment we're seeing some new leaves coming out, albeit only a few new leaves, but it's more than what it usually puts out in the colder months. So it's been quite a nice little surprise to see that. I guess it says that the plant is happy too, which is nice, you know. And I'm pleased to say that my pink syngoniums made it through. These did have quite the battle with spider mites. As far as I'm aware, I'm now on top of it. I haven't seen any for a while, so I think we're out of the woods. But yeah, I'm really happy that this one came through, really, because it's one of my favourites. It's kind of slowing down in growth. I'd say it's probably one of the slowest growing syngoniums I have, but even so, it does seem to be still growing, albeit very slowly. But yeah, really glad this one survived the spider mites. And then this is my Cebu Blue Pothos, and I had a bit of trouble with this one. I accidentally snapped some of the vines off, very sadly, and also it's had spider mites, so maybe that explains the yellowing that I've been having. I mean, I've been treating this one so many times. I thought maybe it was a light issue as well, so I've brought it in here to the bedroom, right in this window, where it can hopefully get some more light if it is a light issue. But it could well be the spider mites, or it could just be the fact that I damaged it and didn't realise some of the leaves are still damaged and are yellowing off. I don't know, but I'm doing my best for it. And yeah, I've been pretty relentless with the spider mite treatments. So hopefully we'll come through the other end, but I think it's doing okay overall. Maybe just a few winter woes, which many of my plants have at the moment, so it's not the end of the world. And then this is my Raven ZZ. This one did have spider mites, but you wouldn't know it. It's basically really tough, this one. It withstands a pest attack really easily, and yeah, you wouldn't even know that it had spider mites really. You can see the new growth there is slightly more green, and then it eventually kind of goes black over time. And then this is my variegated peace lily. Again, this one's doing pretty good. The variegation on it, I would say, is quite stable even when you give it lower light. Some of the new leaves are a little bit smaller maybe, so I don't know, maybe that points towards it needing a bit more light, so maybe I'll possibly try and get it in a higher light situation. It's quite difficult at the moment with the autumn winter light. There aren't that many good spots for me to put my plants in, but I'm doing my best. And another one that's suffering a bit is this Maranta, and it's true this Maranta did have thrips, and I got rid of the thrips. That was back in summer. It then had spider mites, and there's some damage you can see on it, kind of mottling, which is definitely spider mite damage. But in addition to that kind of mottling, I'm also seeing a lot of yellowing of the leaves, so I'm wondering what is going on. As far as I can tell, the spider mites are gone, so I don't know, maybe it's light or maybe it's just the fact that it's kind of recovering still. That there is definitely spider mite damage. And as I say, I think I've got rid of them now, so I can kind of understand that, but it seems to be still suffering quite a bit. But then this is quite a difficult plant to control pests on because there's so many little crevices where they can hide. So yeah, we'll just see how it does, but